Many people find it difficult to crystallize in their mind and consciousness actually what the astral illusion is. For most individuals the illusion is a reality, whereas it does not actually exist. Their reality is based on what their senses perceive and, by that perception, their mind adds dimension to the illusion. Zdor. Human life and consciousness are reactionary. Life is a reaction to a stimulus. As the light deepens in the third dimension, it diffuses and manifests in frequencies. These frequencies form patterns, which are expressed as animals, plants, minerals and other organisms. The personality believes these patterns are separate from the light. 5. Within the illusion, humankind also reacts to frequencies the astrals use to delude the personality, such as fear. However, in light there is no fear. The illusion and all its negative aspects of fear, ignorance, greed, selfishness, hate, murder, control and vanity are a reflection of the frequency of the astral consciousness. The astral's illusion is the reflection of the essence of their own being and the rejection of light. Personalities are living in the mirror consciousness of the astrals. Most personalities mistakenly believe that the astral's mirror consciousness is their own consciousness. Accordingly react with the frequencies of the illusion. Individuals who attempt to control the actions and lives of others are inwardly living in fear of those whom they seek to hold in bondage to their will. Individuals who harmonize their consciousness with the astrals exist only as a reflection of the frequencies of the astral consciousness, for now the illusion exists as a reality in their lives. Fear and control manifest on all levels of human existence and are not limited to the so-called ruling class. Parents often fear their children, employers their employees. These individuals unconsciously feel that they cannot sustain their authority, so they resort to tactics intended to create fear and subjection, such as withholding love from the children, and dismissal of the employees. From what you have just heard, it should be obvious what little power the astrals and their entities actually have. The mirrored frequencies of the astrals are not strong enough to prevent the flow of light through the personalities, so the astrals and their entities live in fear of humanity. They desperately attempt to create waves of fear to distract humans from the light that flows into the whole dimension. The illusion is an outflow of the astral's own fear, and this fear exists only for them, as well as for those who believe in them. The astrals cannot exist in light and, as the ever-creative light fills the frequencies of the earth, both they and their illusion will cease to exist. Astral lords and their entities created the matrix of time, the time loop, in order to limit the expression of human consciousness. They saw the death of the human body as the perfect medium for reinforcing the concept of time, as well as the process of forgetfulness. Astral entities deceived humanity by perpetuating the lie that the death of the body is the end of the life and existence. They stated that, on death, the soul or personality moved through the veil of forgetfulness, never to return. Through this lie, they attempted to hold human consciousness in the loop of time. When certain individuals remembered previous experiences in different bodies, the entities had them ridiculed by religious leaders and members of the medical fraternity of the era. In areas of the world where individual rebirth was an accepted concept, the lie was to state that a human could be reborn as something more lowly, usually a despised animal, or into a position of wretchedness, if one did not obey the rules of living. The cycle of rebirth was suffering and forgetfulness, always tied to the wheel of time. 6. In past eras, the astral entities became emperors of lands, kings of countries, and religious leaders, and these individuals held positions in law to maintain control over humanity. This often proved dangerous for them, because their earth bodies were vulnerable to attack by dissidents. In the present era, these entities have cunningly removed themselves from the forefront of any direct confrontation with the mass of humanity to eliminate this problem. They create organizations that act as a smokescreen to hide behind, making the organization the authority. People then assign their life and power to the organization and its structure, just as they do with the various gods. Organizations have become worldwide corporations, which are now replacing countries. It means little what structure the entities work under, because the purpose and the net result are the same: to enslave the minds, bodies and personalities, to perpetuate the illusion. Corporations backed by the astral entities are centers of control in their network. For them, the earth, or more specifically, nature, is their enemy. What humanity calls nature is the earth's personality, and nature is the seat of the earth's consciousness. Astral entities believe the earth holds many secrets that prevent them from achieving the goals of their masters. The astral entities attempt forcibly to wrestle these so-called secrets from the earth, to increase their wealth and domination over humanity. The great light of Zdor fills the energy waves of the third dimension, opening your consciousness to the vortex of light and healing. The moment is at hand. Zdor. Great prophecy, seed dread of infinity, heralded the end of this, the last time loop, which has often been referred to as the end time or the end of time. Many religious historians thought that, with the movement of the light of Jesu, Jesus, on the earth, the end of the time loop was imminent. It was the beginning of the end. When Jesu's body rested in the sepulchre, his light moved through the astral realm. His light sent the astral lords and their entities into fear, because the light repelled them and they knew that if it remained there for long, it would destroy them. This was not the end of time for them. However, the influx of light effectively reduced their power by 1/3, weakening their control over the consciousness of humankind. The earth ascension and the vortex of light and healing will destroy the remaining influence of the astrals and their entities. Makwajesu also brought with the light into the third dimension, pure unconditional love. This frequency has consistently drawn all egos closer to the light and the light of each other. The love frequency demands nothing and gives freely, for it is of the light. It is the feeling of oneness in your consciousness. If you have studied the transmissions of Enlight, enter the vortex as one light and single The Oracle to Freedom, and you have taken their messages into your daily life, and applied them for the benefit of others, you will have opened your consciousness to the beauty and peace of your inner light and love. Many people who have not read the transmissions, that have opened to the sensitivity of their inner feelings, are being unconsciously drawn into the vortex of light and healing, for all are one in light. Seekers who are still working in the illusion expect that they should have some startling initiation, or inner demonstrations of a spectacular nature, filled with illumination and enlightenment. This is the only way they perceive a return to higher contact with their God. For others, the expectation is of a mystical experience, elevating them to the level of a cosmic master. The Astral Nine Lords often reward these seekers with such experiences, and consequently they fall deeper into illusion. Little do they know that the so-called cosmic masters are no more than the astral entities, who care little for the children of the earth. Following the great expectations of salvation entertained in the minds of many individuals, the end of the time loop will be a letdown. The God will fail to appear to save the chosen few. Those who have remained faithful to the laws of God will see that those laws were instigated by the devil, Razbarul, whom they will soon meet. There will not be any masters of the world to save them, except Janiks. There will not be any extraterrestrials or angels to come and teach humankind how to live in greater harmony. There is no escape from oneself. Salvation exists in the individual and does not come from outside sources. The end of time has no future date, but only exists in your consciousness. You can end the time loop now, by moving your personality into its light source. The Astral Lords are devious in their methods of control, illusion and subterfuge. They care nothing for good or evil, since it is all the same with them. They allow for the creation of the gods of the religions, cosmic masters, Eastern gurus, great white brotherhoods and satanic cults. In fact, they use any system that leads the seeker into separation from the light within. Be quiet in your being and listen, for the light of all that joins all as one, will reveal your awakening. Let these transmissions draw your personality away from the astral illusion and harmonize your earth body with its source. Share with the earth its beauty and light, as it opens its light to the greater light, ending all illusion. Speaks. Transmission for predestiny. Prior to your consciousness passing through the life vortex to your earth body, you already planned all that you need to experience during this life on earth. This planned purpose, or experience, is an expansion in your consciousness and has nothing to do with the illusory concept of predestiny. Individuals who believe in predestiny feel they can live as they please, because they say, everything is already ordained. Individuals who believe in predestiny are unable to move their consciousness into light. Concepts built in the astral illusion are designed to chain the personality and its consciousness to the third dimension so that the astrals can manipulate these personalities. Even though you have decided the direction your personality will follow in this life experience, it is not always obvious to you. Once you begin your present journey of life, the interaction of your personality with other personalities creates the pattern for your ultimate planned experience. Often, your personality will move in various directions, sometimes coming to a dead end. Then it must retrace its steps, following different paths, until it learns what was decided. Many individuals do not realize that the lessons to be learned in consciousness are often quite simple, such as how to care for and love another. This may take 6 months or 80 years. There is no time, only consciousness. As you complete all your experiences with the earth, you will express pure light in all your feelings and actions. You will have played your symphony to the end, which was outlined in the transmission, the symphony of life. Oracle to Freedom. Remembering your light requires no special ritual, liturgy, spiritual guides or masters, because all knowledge is in you. The future will not bring you happiness, peace, or light. The moment will, so remember yourself. I have said, to live for the moment means that you do what needs to be done now. Nothing you do in your life is meaningless, everything has purpose. Do not neglect work that seems to be repetitive or a drudge, because it all fits into the fullness of your life. It is all a part of the total picture that you are longing to see. Think deeply about this. The moment is timeless. Seek to know yourself as the self which talks to you, free from the intrusion of your personality. Your light is limitless and all-pervasive. Just listen and expand in consciousness until you remember your one light. 13. Many individuals become confused with the word karma. Karma is thought by some as being retribution for having caused harm or having done wrong to another, either in a present or a past life experience. There is no God to punish you for the so-called sins or wrongdoing. Yes, in the past, many astral lords held themselves to be the gods of human consciousness, and they sought to punish other gods as well as human beings. Even in recent times there were gods who punished whole nations, the god of Moses example. In human consciousness, there are as many gods as there are individuals who believe in them. Some tout the one God concept. However, the one God concept is not a reality. Karma is the individual adjustment to learn what moves in light as well as what blinds the personality to light. Karma is the interaction between personalities as they progressively move through one life experience to another. Each return experience balances the consciousness of the personality, gradually turning it back to light. There is no retribution. Beware of becoming involved in performing rituals and initiations, for they are old forms of control the astrals have used since the beginning of their time. Just below the level of the conscious mind in humanity lies a virtual rubbish tip filled with all the insidious and depraved emotions that humanity has created and stored through allegiance with the perverse beings that inhabit that space. Since the beginning of time, these perverse beings are attracted to individuals who congregate together in a mass, whether at sporting events, wars, or political or religious gatherings. For millions of years the astrals have fostered the presentation of games designed to influence the emotions of the spectators in a negative manner. In the Roman time, it was the bloodletting of gladiators. Now it is the smell of blood engendered at football games and boxing matches. At such gatherings, the individual merges his or her emotions into the destructive mass emotion. The astrals feed on such negativity, and raise rules over the hordes of perversity in the so-called underworld, sending them forth to incite and lead humanity in destructive ways. In the days when wars were fought hand-to-hand on battlefields, the perverse beings followed and taunted the soldiers, inciting them to a frenzy of killing. This happens even now in war zones and places of chaos around the world. Ritual is a repetitive action not limited to religions and secret societies. Ritual finds its way into all avenues of society, the pomp of a military parade, the opening of sporting events and games, parliamentary procedures, educational and civil ceremonies of all kinds. Rituals are designed to direct the mind and feelings of an individual to a predetermined belief or behavior. Those performing the ritual engender memories and emotions from the level below the conscious mind, by using costumes, incense, and props such as candles and swords. Stimulated by suggestion and imagery, those caught in the fervor of the ritual release their subliminal feelings for use by the astrals and their perverse beings. 14 governments use ritual to stimulate patriotism in their citizens, and sporting events use ritual to create a bond between the players and spectators. Remain free from the astral influences by avoiding mass gatherings and street demonstrations, which see the perverse beings of the lower astral realm. Initiation has a deeper impact on consciousness. The most common initiation nowadays is a ceremony of citizenship, which involves swearing allegiance to the country and flag. The principles of initiation are the same wherever they are performed. However, it is in initiations reserved for the secret societies and religious orders that the deepest astral control exists. Initiation binds the initiate to the initiator, creating a bond that is difficult to sever. More closely than karma ever could be, the initiator binds the initiate for other life experiences beyond the present one. Initiation links the initiate to the initiator for many further life experiences even when the original bond is lost in the consciousness of the initiate. Understand initiation as a chain linking the initiator's will, knowledge and purpose with disciples who have been trained in the ways of the astrals. In early times, to symbolize the tie to the initiator, initiates wore a cord or rope as a belt around the waist, or a cord around the wrist. This expressed the bond between wearer and master. In some societies, different color cords were used to signify the standing of the disciple. A ritual covertly creates conformity, whereas initiation transfers power from one source to another. The original source is from the astral lords, and is mirrored in a similar fashion through many initiates caught in that illusion. The initiator confers the right on the initiate to confer the same power on others whom they have taught, who in turn would repeat the process of initiation. Regardless, everyone in the chain of initiation is linked to the original initiator. Same perpetuation is used in religious ceremonies whereby the bishop has the power to ordain, as well as the power to create another bishop. Greatest fear of this system of control is that one of the initiates will break the chain consciously, which may sever the progression. Usually, one will break the chain in order to create a new system. Although the new system is based on the original concept, it is altered to fit the notions of the one who broke the chain. It becomes a new religious group or order. However, it is no longer connected to the original source, and only is as strong as the personal power of its originator. In most instances, after the demise of the founder, the new group does not last. Other forms of linkage relate to chain letters that apply curses and bad luck on the one who breaks the chain. Nowadays many enlightened individuals realize that the curse is only effective relative to their belief in it. Do not place yourself in compromising positions where you subject your personality to any situation involving initiation. Know what is intended when you observe rituals in your daily life, and avoid becoming involved. They will 15 lead you in the ways of the astrals, reducing the flow of light to your personality and earth body. Transmission 6 Consciousness and light. How often have you heard someone tell you that they moved their consciousness into a higher dimension? In addition, they claim the experience led them to contact an enlightened being on that dimension. When I hear this I automatically ask myself, how do they know what dimension they locked onto? Possibly, this higher dimensional being suggested that they had extended their consciousness to a specific plane, or they inwardly believed that they were no longer on the third dimension. Because they think they have received information from a higher consciousness than their own, this individual now assumes that he or she is more important than their listeners, and, because of their higher contact, they expect their listeners should recognize their spiritual superiority. And the third dimension you experience various levels of density, not only in the external environment, but also in your body. You differentiate between solids, liquids, and gases, and vaguely understand the energy fields and patterns of the atom. To a lesser extent you know very little about the etheric fields that hold together your body's form. Because you cannot see the etheric fields of energy, you limit your understanding to those sensitives who appear to be able, through a second sense. There are increasing reports of near-death experiences where individuals who have died cross over into the lower levels of the fourth dimension and are often brought back to life, returning with information about a heaven, which is no different from the life they already experience on this dimension. Others believe they have guides and angels, who talk to them and protect them from danger. Many of these guides are disincarnate beings that had feelings of grandeur when they were living in their earth body. Disincarnate beings attempt to create an aura of importance by pretending to be the souls of people who once lived in ancient civilizations. They feel the ancientness strengthens their claim to wisdom. And their knowledge can be found in one or two books. However, it appears to the one who contacted the disincarnate spirit as important knowledge, because it came from the other side. Eventually, these disincarnate beings are unable to hold together their etheric form and they pass beyond the veil of memory into the lower level of the fourth dimension, where the astral lords rule. They experience a short duration of the heaven they hoped for before falling asleep. Many people expect that after the death of their body, they will pass into a higher dimension and transcend the suffering and meaningless life they had on earth. However, after death they move across the void into a state of consciousness they desired on earth. This is not an active experience. For some time they live the fantasy free from pain, suffering and want, which supposedly is the reward for their suffering on earth. Death of your body is no different from sleep in the daily life cycle. During sleep you actively live through the experiences of the waking time, and rehash old feelings and emotions associated with your daily experiences. Your dream experiences have no active contact with other personalities, and, as such, they are passive and restrict any personal expansion of consciousness and light. You can only expand your consciousness and light by your interactions with others, rather than by anything you dream about. The after-death experience contains the same limitations. You can only increase your level of light and consciousness as you express that consciousness through your earth body. The more you increase the consciousness of light in your body, the more you transcend the limitations of the astral dimension following the death of your body. Your expanded consciousness gained through active experience on the third dimension ensures that you are not lulled into a dream state after the death of your earth body. After the death of the earth body, the personality passes through the etheric or energy frequency which burns off all form you had on the third dimension. Anything that resembles a body form on the fourth dimension is only a memory pattern. Following the release from the etheric form, most personalities find the heaven they sought on earth in the astral level of the fourth dimension. Depending on the earthly concept of heaven, the departed personalities are readily given the promised heavenly experience, which they live through their memory patterns. Often these personalities believe that they are still following the same life they experienced in their body on the earth. They fulfill their desires and in their memory enjoy reunion with their deceased loved ones. And the fourth dimension there is no reality, because the body forms are created in their memory. Eventually the memories fade away and the personality goes into eternal sleep, much the same as you do in the earth body at night. Only this time the personality awakens in a small baby body once more on the third dimension. If you want to experience a consciousness beyond the astral fourth dimension following the death of your body, you need to actively open your consciousness to the light while living in your earth body. Everyone has the potential to experience multi-levels of consciousness, and you all do this unconsciously. However, you are that light which produces the consciousness needed to become aware of the multi-levels of consciousness in light. The only way you can experience the multi-levels of light consciousness on this dimension is to have a personality that can contain, and give out, the fullness of the light that flows through it. When your personality denies the flow of light in preference to the illusion and all the illusion offers, your consciousness will never lay claim to being a multi-level being of light consciousness. This denial prevents light manifesting in your personality and your body. If only one feeling or behavior blocks the free flow of light through your personality, that alone will prevent your expansion of consciousness in light. A prophet from India is proclaimed a god on earth. Many flock to worship and learn. His teachings are based on magic and illusion, but he weaves from his magic great wealth, and his disciples are the ones who are out of pocket and spirituality. Prophets like these are not what you seek, for you have already trodden the path of illusion. Inwardly you know where the true prophet is. A true prophet asks nothing from any disciples, but gives all without any demands. You need no prophet, for all you need is to turn your gaze away from outward desires and expectations, and focus on the light within you, which is awaiting your reality. Before being born into your earth body you decided the purpose and experiences needed to bring your personality into harmony with the flow of light from your higher frequencies. This inner purpose is a driving influence behind everything you think, feel and do during your total life experience. Some people suggest this is a fatalistic attitude. However, fatalism is a belief in a predetermined course through life that cannot be altered. The purpose that you follow is an impulse to be, and does not follow a predetermined path. Rather, all choices you make do not necessarily lead to the desired result. When you make mistakes, these mistakes return you to that junction where you have a choice to make a correct decision. Regardless of what mistakes you make, eventually you will achieve the desired life purpose you set out to accomplish. Take the time now to reflect on your daily life. The events you feel are important, your relationships, how you approach simple tasks, the things about others that annoys you, your inability to express your feelings, how you measure up in different situations, your self-image, your relationships with your parents, who you want to please, what thoughts constantly return that you repeat over and over. These, and many other insecurities, are always involved in working out your path in this present life experience. This is your life reality. It forms a habitual aura around your body, and you are unaware that it exists. It is like a cloud that cloaks everything you see outside yourself. It blocks your true appreciation of the actual world and adds to your illusion. Constantly you are projecting outwardly your insecurities, your fears and those thoughts and actions that you are ashamed of. It is fortunate for you that everyone else shares the same problem, and they are so engrossed in their self-centered behavior that they do not have any interest in your life as you would like to believe. In fact, you are an open book, but you know it not. Many individuals have a developed sensitivity. In fact, every one of you have this sensitivity, but you are so engrossed in your own life and so-called problems that you are numb to any sensitive reactions beyond your personal reality. Some sensitives are called psychics, clairvoyants, witches and warlocks, saints and devils. Some people hold sensitive individuals in awe and many times in fear. These people fear what the sensitive one might see, or know, their innermost secret thoughts and feelings, which they hide from others. Many people consult these sensitives as fortune tellers. They want to know what the future holds for them, whether they will find happiness with another, 29 whether they will suffer an accident or illness, or if they will inherit a fortune. Other people want to know about their past lives, or contact a loved one who is deceased. I have repeatedly said in these transmissions that there is no future, because there is no time. If you already decided your purpose and the experiences needed in this life experience, then it is a matter of interacting and reacting to the conditions around you. When you complete this life cycle you view it totally as one event. It is the anticipation that suggests a potential future. Often people say they remember when they were younger and what they thought and did, and because of those behaviors they changed their life. They use clichés such as, if I had my life to live over again, I would not make the same mistakes, or I wish I was 20 again and know everything I know now. They had to make those mistakes, otherwise they would not realize now that they had made a mistake. In both instances it reveals that there has been progress toward to achieving the purpose that was inherent when they entered the body. When you exhibit any degree of sensitivity it is only an extension of the physical senses attributed to the body. These include seeing, feeling, hearing, smelling, tasting and touch. Feeling is an attribute expressed through the body by the personality and includes emotions. These feelings involve intuition, prophecy and dreams, as well as an inner sense of attunement. When you are absorbed in your reality you are self-centered and the degree of extra sensitivity is limited. When you are self-absorbed you have no interest in other individuals or, in fact, anything outside your private world. Your body senses are also rigidly focused on the dimensional world and the fascination with its illusion. When you become more aware of the feelings and insecurities of others, the more you extend your awareness through your bodily sensory faculties. When you feel through your total organism, which is just not limited to your physical body, you become aware of the feelings and inadequacies of others. As you become more expansive, you unleash the healing forces extant within you. True healing leads to awareness of your being in light. Of the many individuals displaying varying degrees of sensitivity, there are few who have totally developed their sense of awareness. Some display extended visual awareness in that they perceive finer energy frequencies in nature, as well as in the human body. Often they suggest that different colors represent the emotional and mental states of the person whose aura they perceive. Colors in the energy patterns underlying the physical body relate to many things and not just disturbances in the emotional and mental attitudes of an individual. For instance, disease states create energy blockages, which produce dark gaps in the energy fields. Surgical removal of organs creates other aberrations to the patterns. The colors change with the mood and thoughts of the individual and are mainly emotional based. If the person is fully balanced 30 with light flowing through the personality there would be no colors as such seen. You do not need to see red flashes in an aura to know someone is enraged. Their whole body expression and attitude easily conveys their emotional state. By observing the color of the skin, the way someone stands and holds their body, whether they fidget or twitch, possibly their eyes are glazed, no matter, it is all observation and that holds as much value in understanding a human situation as does extended sight. The more you are attuned to your inner light and energy, the more you will know the problems involving another, as well as yourself. Often many individuals think that those who display extrasensory skills are somehow more spiritual and evolved than others. However, often it is the opposite, and their lives end in torment and despair. Have you ever consulted a psychic or fortune teller? Possibly you know someone who has? Of course, although when someone does this they outwardly suggest that they are a skeptic and are just trying it on. However, inwardly they feel insecure and expect the result. His inner need is the factor that allows the psychic to latch onto the inner feelings you already have. They begin to mirror what you already know but cannot express. When they relate back to you, your innermost feelings, you think they are endowed with great powers, where in fact, they link up with that aura which resonates with your life purpose. For instance, when you are locked into an emotional pattern with grief, frustration or anger, you radiate these patterns outwardly, and these inner sensory emotions surround your whole being at that moment. If someone else sits quietly supporting you at a time of crises, they feel the images that you are projecting at that moment. Their clairvoyant act mirrors your unawareness of the state of your being. The sensitive person inwardly acts like a tuning fork resonating with your feelings and thoughts. Often these people call their experiences a curse or a gift, but this all depends on their reactions to the information they receive. Others inwardly hear words from the people they are attuned with, but no matter what way the information is received, the method is the same. Many reading this transmission will question what I have said about extrasensory perception. However, what needs to be challenged is whether the gift or curse is anything more than caring. Caring is a matter of resonance, allowing the resonant patterns to be mirrored to the understanding of another, and how this information can be expressed back to the one mirroring it. So the information received by the psychic is limited in words to the understanding and mental capacity of the receiver. Often it comes out unreliable and garbled, but generally there is enough information for the receiver to touch the inner needs of the one mirroring the information. If that person was sensitive enough in their life, they would have possibly more 31 understanding of their life purpose than the information gleaned by the psychic. You can tap into all the information you need by inner contact with your light. This information will have greater meaning than any second-hand response from another, unless they are there to wake you up. Single quote the so-called psychic ability becomes more relevant to those individuals who are inward-looking or what is called introverted. Anyone who is more attuned to their inner experiences is able to relate comfortably to the inner experiences of others. It is thought that women are more sensitive and clairvoyant than men. Possibly the statistics suggest that, however, statistics are manipulated numbers which do not necessarily approach the true perspective. More psychics are often attuned to their feeling nature, which is seen as a female strength. The psychic male is introverted and has a strong intellectual faculty. This often leads to domination and the need to lead and hold them out to be spiritual masters, etc. Father figures inspire many extrasensory females. Their father was in the category of the previous related group, and it is a continual relationship of the warlock in which relationship of the Middle Ages. It is wise to approach the relationship with all sensitives with circumspect. Often they think you also have the same powers of clairvoyance as they do, even if you do not. That generally explains the depth of their spiritual awareness. As psychic abilities are extensions of the normal sensory states common to all human beings, once recognized there are ways and methods of developing or expanding their potential. It is the same as any other exercises. You can develop fitness and muscular strength through the habit of daily exercise, and similarly you can extend sensory perception through daily exercises. However, all development requires dedication and a reason. Bigger muscles and extended sensory perception rely on vanity. And for the same reason there are only a few body beautiful as there are very few developed psychics. The effort to achieve the desired result cannot be sustained. True sensitivity comes from openness and the flow of light through and personality free of all illusion. Healing involves resonance. Whenever anyone approached Markwood Jesus for healing there was an automatic response as the light of Markwood Jesus resonated with the light of the seeker, and the healing was instantaneous. Go and sin no more was the answer. Like anything, if you revert your old habits and behavior your illness will return. True healing requires changes on all levels of consciousness. Karma and reincarnation. During the latter part of the 19th century human consciousness entered a new phase of awareness. In the following 120 years the dependency on religious organizations for spiritual unfoldment was replaced by individual effort, and now women and men hold the key for their personal enlightenment. The shift in consciousness began with the expansion of material scientific knowledge that not only rivaled, but also lessened the power and influence of the religions. Science proved to be the catalyst that influenced the minds of many people, allowing them to see that the so-called mysteries have a logical cause. However, science does not have all the answers, because it bases its knowledge on laws that function in the external or material world. The different churches, in defiance of the scientific revolution, further weakened their position in the control of human consciousness through their attempts at modernization. In the late 1800s there was an explosion of spiritualist groups and various occult organizations that attempted to marry the new scientific works with their old rituals, alchemy and magic, creating a system they felt would appeal to the emerging consciousness that was transcending the last 600 years of dogmatic doctrine. Some of the Western-style societies and groups introduced Eastern religious doctrines into their teachings and sought to replace Western Orthodox thought with a blend of old and new. Progressively from the 1960s to the 1980s, Western consciousness, spurred on by pop groups and flower people, began to embrace the practices of meditation, karma and reincarnation as tools for awakening consciousness. Because the doctrines were borrowed from the older Eastern religions, they were often confusing and open to misinterpretation by Western society. The young people who embraced them also began experimenting with hallucinating drugs that effectively destroyed many of the energy patterns of their bodies. The older Western religions followed the one life concept because this made it easier for them to control their adherents. However, with the influx of new thought, their members were also exposed to such things as reincarnation and karma, which are diametrically opposed to the core religious teachings of one life. In the West, karma is taught as an impersonal law based on cause and effect. If you do something wrong in this life, then in future lives you have to rectify this wrong before you can reach a higher state of enlightenment. Often over the years, Eastern monks who were wanting to maintain their relationships with their country's rulers, used karma as a means of not helping their adherents who had fallen out with their ruling princes and emperors. The monk's answer would be, there is nothing we can do to help you because it is your karma, and it is up to you to work this out. 105. The doctrines of reincarnation in the West differ from the Eastern model. In the West, reincarnation of an identity is seen solely as a bonus to personality, allowing enlightened individuals to parade themselves before others as advanced souls who previously lived important lives that account for their present state of high evolvement. In the East, reincarnation and transmigration of souls follow the same principles, where a human being might return as another human being or as a different animal. In this transmission, Zdor discusses the role of karma and reincarnation, and our personal inner enlightenment. Zdor speaks, repetition lies at the core of the astral illusion, and affects your behavior, thoughts, feelings and health, because the so-called principles of time and space are aligned to the process of repetition. Some religious cults teach repetition under the guise of reincarnation. Their doctrine of reincarnation is based on personal living patterns which suggest that if you wrong another being, intentionally or not, then you have activated the process of karma, and will have to return to the earth in another body at a future time to right this wrong. However, what is it that reincarnates? The light essence does not reincarnate, but retains the memory patterns of all the different life experiences. The only permanent aspect of life experienced in the body revolves around the personality. When the body dies, the personality re-experiences the events of that life, and the essence or distillation of those experiences is added to the pre-existing memory pattern that was present at the beginning of that life experience. The events of this last life may modify the previous pattern, creating a new influence for the personality's next incarnation. Actually, following the death of the body, the personality's life experiences restructure the previous memory pattern, and this is the true karma. The life experiences are not linked to suffering in a future life, nor is there any need to right or wrong with any other personality or group of people. True karma does not bind individuals or nations, as is taught by the illusion. The memory pattern can be likened to a film or a transparency that overlays the light essence, and this film diffuses and limits the light reaching the personality. It is this thin barrier that prevents you from reaching your inner essence, and also prevents the light from reaching the external world through the body's personality and senses. Experience gained through reincarnation eventually allows this memory pattern to be torn away from the light essence, and allows the light and consciousness of the self to shine through the purified personality to the body and the external environment. 106. In life you appear to move from one thing to another, a better job, a promotion, a new house and so on, and this suggests that there is a progression of time, which suggests there is a past and future. You relate all your experiences to what you are doing now, and they seem new, but you are unaware that these experiences are the same, in essence, as something that occurred either earlier in this life or in other lives. You are always looking forward to a future that is different from now. For instance, if, some 300 years ago, you behaved the same way as you are behaving now, and you are not conscious of this, where are you in consciousness? Is your consciousness in 1706 or 2006? If something happened in 1706, and is repeated in 2006, is it occurring in 2006, and being repeated in 1706? You cannot answer this because you believe time is a linear progression from one year to another. However, because there is no time in eternity, there is the potential that consciousness in 2006 can be experienced before it occurs in 1706. It is as difficult to grasp because you know you cannot be in two places at the same time, or that is what you learned from your worldly education. You rightly say that the 2006 body is not the same as the 1706 body. However, consciousness is not limited to any particular body and time. That is a belief of the illusion. In the moment, your consciousness is linked to all the bodies needed for you to break free from the illusion and experience light essence, free from all those bodies. You can experience an incarnation in 2150 AD as well as a similar one in BC 20,000, because everything exists, except you are unaware of it. When you realize that a particular behavior pattern relates to a state of consciousness in another life experience, regardless of time, you begin to diffuse what is blocking your freedom. You need to be conscious of the eternal moment. However, because you are not living in the eternal moment and are busy surviving during this life, often blaming another life and expecting a future, you are unable to be free, and to be. The life you are consciously experiencing now has the potential to end all the karma as well as the hindrances from other lives. You have the opportunity now to transcend all those things that bind you to the illusion. You do not have to wait for another life. Doing that would mean that you are doing nothing now. Your personality is the mirror because it is reflecting in your life the transparency of memory that covers your light essence. Peel it away and free your consciousness of all life experiences that cloud it. You have the power to do this. It does not involve meditations, chants or any initiations. Jesus showed the way, but everyone is blinded by the illusion and cannot see the way Jesus taught, that of being one in the Father or light. If you understand and observe the repetitive actions and reactions of your personality, you are seeing what blocks your consciousness from being here and now. You have to cast out the devils and unclean spirits that keep you illusion-bound. Jesus gave many demonstrations then. However, it's now up to you to recognize these taints that you so lovingly believe are your friends. What kind of friend is it that keeps you locked in the prison? 107. There is so much false information preached by the astral entities that is intended to ground your consciousness and personality in darkness and ignorance. When you begin to live through the consciousness of your inner light essence, you will discover that the light of this essence is greater than the light of the whole third-dimensional universe. In the illusion, personalities believe there is safety in numbers, but they are unaware of what the safety is for. As a group, are they safe from the ignorance they inflict on one another? Group sentimentality is common in the illusion, and the entities use suffering and sympathy to maintain and mask the personality, attempting to create an enduring state of darkness. Human beings are like nature's seeds. Although there are many seeds in the soil, only a few have the right conditions to swell, grow and produce fruit. Similarly, there are billions of bodies, and only a few of these bear fruit. When your light essence, ego, personality and body are oneself, there is no individuality or separation. There are no separate souls, as taught by the religions and cults, for if that were true, there would only be illusion,